after teaching this class, which will renew how to open command and do an opportunity for me, I'm going to sit down and rewrite this so that we have a correct version to hand out. In the meantime, when we go over that portion, you're just going to have to follow along. So who brought their computer? Great, awesome. So just for your information in future, you always want to bring your computer to these classes so that you can, because this is a computer-related tasks, right? But you'll get lots out of it in the meantime anyway. All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna let her share with me.
Okay. It's not the same as doing, because she can watch here, right? But it's real different when you do it yourself versus, yeah. But for sure, whatever you can share, but I'll also be doing it up here. Okay, so how to open escrow at Keller Williams. First of all, follow the normal steps of opening escrow, right? And that always begs the question, well, what are the normal steps of opening escrow? And the question of who opens escrow? What do you think?
Purchase contract.
Exactly, the purchase contract opens the escrow, right?
Yes.
Along with what?
Approval loan.
A who?
Seller buyer sign.
It must be signed by both the buyer and the seller, correct? It must have consideration. It must have a check, right? It must have some money with it. Because in fact, escrow is a bank account. That's what that means, it's an escrow account, right? So while at this point in time we have escrow opening and the money is being wire transferred from the buyer, and that might take 3 days, and escrow is kind enough to assign an escrow number based on our contract, it really does need that money in order to actually open an escrow account. So that's the normal process. If you're representing the buyer, you make sure you send the contract to the lender as well, so that the lender can start the loan process, right? Because that's real important. So then here at Keller Williams, there are several things that we need to do in order to open escrow. And the first one is we need to set up a green sheet. And the green sheet is in the old part of Keller Williams, not in command. They haven't switched us over to that section yet, although there is a section there called commissions, but it's not live yet. So we're still doing green sheets. And then we need to open our file. .loop was just the name of our filing system, and our file is now going to be in command in the section called opportunities. So I'm going to take you through opening an opportunity and putting documents into opportunities. And then we need to set up a timeline, an escrow timeline, so we're going to do that. And we also need to submit escrow instructions. And escrow instructions is just the way for the company to have documentation as well as escrow, that the broker agrees that this transaction is happening and this is the amount of commission that's expected, and here are the parties who are involved. So it is the one place where we as a company, for instance, have access to your buyer's contact information. Otherwise, it's not on the contract, it's not really anywhere, right? And does the company need your client's contact information? Yeah, because you get sick and suddenly you can't talk to your client. Your client calls us up here and says, ah! And we go, oh my God, who is this person? And we can't find any record of it because you haven't done your escrow instructions, makes it very difficult. Or the other way around, I need to get in touch with your client on your behalf and there's no information. So that's why it's really important to have that information here. And then finally, you're going to be doing contingency waivers, right? Contingency waivers are what says, oh, my client approved their J1 inspection, oh, we approved the title report, and all those things. So those waivers, I'm going to show you where those are and how to get that done. So that's kind of an overview of what we're doing today. Okay, cool. Okay, so that takes us to green sheets. And if you want to follow along, green sheets is under a tab. So we're in My KW, right? The old section of Keller Williams. And we're going to technology. And in technology, you go down about 4 or 5 hookahs, and there is green sheets. And you're going to click on green sheet. And lo and behold, it's green. Nice. And pretty simple. And you can see right here across the top, you're in the dashboard, you could create a green sheet or you could find a green sheet. So if you've ever done one, you should be able to find one there by the address as well as your name. You should be able to find an old green sheet. In any case, we're going to go to create a green sheet. And the first question it asks you is, are you the listing agent? Well, we're going to represent a buyer today, so we're not the listing agent. And then it says, is this a KW listing? And again, for the purposes of our exercise today, we're going to say no. However, I want to qualify something. Sometimes the green sheets have challenge in locating the KW listing. So if you are the buyer's agent, but you're selling a KW listing, and the listing agent has already opened a green sheet, it won't populate 2 green sheets. So in order to get around that, you simply go back and say, no, it's not a KW listing. Don't worry about it. This is really just for the purposes of the MCA having information so that we can get your commissions paid, right? It's not so crucial that that's right, so that's a workaround. Another one is if you say, this is my listing, I'm the listing agent, now you're gonna have to find your listing, or you're gonna have to set it up. You're gonna have to put the information in if you can't find it. If it isn't, so I recently had a sale and it sold within 48 hours of being listed, and sure enough, it wasn't in the Keller Williams system yet. It didn't pull it in, so you had to set it all up. If you've got a listing that's been listed for a while, there shouldn't be an issue. It should be able to find your listing, okay? So, and if you can't make it work, you call Christy or email Christy and go, but really the workaround is just say, no, it's not my listing, which of course you can't if you're the listing agent. It's kind of difficult, right? So you gotta get your listing in there somehow, and you'll figure that out. If you're the buyer's agent and you're selling a KW listing and you can't find it, that's fine. If you're the buyer's agent and you're selling your own listing, so you're in fact doing both sides, you should be able to find your listing or fill it in, okay?
Can we still do green sheets?
Yes, we are not moved to commissions yet in Command.
Oh.
You
Okay.
know how to do this part,
I know
right?
how to do that.
You know how to do this part, okay. So you can do your email while we're doing this part.
Is there another part?
Oh yeah, we're gonna open Command and show you how to do your
Okay.
file, which is probably what you want to learn.
That's what I started.
Yeah. All right, so here we are in the green sheet, and you'll notice that there's items that are pink and with red writing and things that are gray. And just as usual, the things that are red or pink means they have to be filled out. So the first one is, do you want to withhold any money for bold? And I'm going to say 0 for that, and then it says bold amount, and I think it wants 0 in both areas. I'm not quite sure, but it asks for numbers in both. In any case, if you say yes here or no here, we could try saying no and see what happens. And then what kind of green sheet is this? Well, let's say yes, it's a residential, and what is the contract date? And let's say it was yesterday. And what is the close date? And let's say it was not December 25th. That's not gonna happen, is it? But we could make it December 23rd. So we're gonna close just before Christmas. And what type of transaction is it? Well, it's a buyer sale. And what class is it? Well, it's a property. And what is the property type? Well, it's a resale. Again, keep in mind that these are all, they seem like kind of odd questions, but they are nationwide, right? So these questions might have more meaning in other areas and whatnot, so keep that in mind. Hi Raleigh, are you here for this class?
I am.
Okay, you might want to move a little closer just so you can see.
I need a plug.
Okay. All right, so you also, I think Latasha's going to get you a handout, and when you've got your computer booted up, Riley, let me know when you've got your computer booted up and I'll show you where we are.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, so the gray items you don't need, like I said, so now we need a street. So what's interesting here is I've set up many fake green sheets and I put in 1, 2, 3 Main Street and it has no problem taking those. Command doesn't let you do that. Command will not let you put in a fake address, just so you know. Current technology is not gonna let us do that. So if I put in 1, 2, 3 Main Street, oh, see, it's supposed to be, this is just the street number, I always forget that, and this is the street name, and then I say Wailuku, I'm pretty safe, there might be a 1, 2, 3 Main Street in Wailuku, 967, what is the Wailuku zip code? I do not know. 93? All right, thank you, and we have to put in the county. And then who is the assigned broker to review and approve this file? So who is your broker, right? You just put in, Derek or Dean or whoever, Marion, whoever your, Peony is my broker, I'm gonna put Peony in here. And who's your mentor or productivity coach? So if you're in the coaching program, you put in who your coach is. And I'm gonna say not applicable. And that takes care of the first section, and now I can go to the next section, and I can do that by clicking the next section button, or these are the various tabs. I can just go to the next tab, right? All right, so Riley, are you in yet?
Working on it.
So, here we are, the list price, so we're gonna say it's $699,000 was the list price, and the sales price is $679. And then you'll notice underneath the sales price are these two little red words, percentage or flat. It's not very clear, but what it's asking you is your commission based on percentage or is it a flat fee? So you have to click on one of them, and when you click on percentage, lo and behold, the commission comes up and you can say, I'm earning 3% commission, and you'll see that the commission amount comes in light gray in this gray box. The gross commission. Make sense? We put in the list price, the sales price, we click on the little button that says percentage, that gives us these two pukas. We put in the 3% and it tells us what our gross commission income is. Okay? All right, that takes us to the next section, or the buyer section. And notice the only thing they want to know is the buyer's name, right? So we put in Betty Buyer. And then the next section is the seller's name, and it's called Larry Lister is the seller. And then that's all we need to do here. This isn't something like this is information for you. You're not gonna be able to sort on this in any way, so there's no sense in using this form for keeping your own records because it won't keep it for you in any usable way. All right, the next section then is the detail section, and I actually printed out the top version of this, top portion of this screen for you in your packet, so you've got it there and can kind of follow along. So the first thing I want to point out is notice, you have to notice, first of all, it's Agent A, Agent B, and Agent C. What is that all about? And then there's all these tabs. Look at all these tabs. There's 7 tabs. And if I just go to wonder what is on all these tabs, and I go to tab number 7, I end up with Agent S, T, and U. In other words, there's room for 21 agents here. What is this about? Anybody know? Anybody have a clue?
Teams.
Exactly. This is about teams. And yes, there are some teams all work differently, right? Some teams work so that Everybody on the team gets a little smidget of every transaction. The agent who did the transaction gets the most, the team rainmaker gets the next amount, and then everybody else gets a little tiny piece of it. And so some of these teams are 21 agents large, and that's why we have all of these slots here. I think our largest team is something like 7 or 8, so yeah, it's going there, right? All right, so now notice it fills in me, right? It should fill in you for I'm back to tab A, the first, page 1 to agent A. And the KW agent name should fill in the default for you. Now, if you're working with somebody and you are splitting this commission, right? If you are working with somebody, like Jeannie here, she works with Steve. She might go here and enter Steve's name here into column B, right? And you have to do that by clicking the little magnifying glass. That's how you find another name. And then I'll show you how that works going down. So as I go down my column, the A column, agent A, it says, what's the agent's role? So I go here, well, I'm the buyer specialist. And then it says type. And again, I'm going to say it's a buyer sale. And when I say it's a buyer sale, suddenly this thing became white and this went gray, which makes sense because this is the sales unit and this is the listing unit. I'm not doing the listing unit. I'm just the buyer's agent. So now I'm going to go here and I'm going to go put in 1 unit. I'm selling 1 unit. And when I do that and hit enter, the entire commission goes into my column. Now, if I have a partner and somebody that I want to split something with, whatever percentage, I could go here and say, no, I don't get the full commission, I'm only getting 70%. And then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to find somebody else and I'm going to see if I can find Steve. And there he is, and I click on him and I select him. And now Steve is here in column B, and I'm going to say he also is a buyer specialist, and also this is a buyer sale. And now I'm going to give him 0.3. Right?
3%.
No, 30%. Right. So we are splitting our commission 70-30. I'm just showing you it doesn't have to be 50-50, right? You could put 0.5 and 0.5, 0.7, whatever your split is with somebody else, you could put it in here. And you can see, once I hit enter on that 3%, now my commission gets reduced and the 30% gets carried over to agent B. So that's how you can split with somebody. Cool, right? And then you go down for both of them. Now, I'm not going to do this, so I am going to take that out, and I'm going to undo this, and I'm not sure, I think I have to select nobody, close window, or clear the associate. So I can clear the associate, that's a big line that says clear the associate. So I'm going to take him out, and I'm going to give myself the full transaction again. Okay. But now you see how you can add somebody else. So now we're going to go down. What does this all say? Well, the outside referral. Is there a percentage for an outside referral? And we could say, yep, I owe 25% for an outside referral. And it calculates it for me. See that? It says $5,092.50 is my outside referral. The next line is the market center approved concession. And let me just explain what a market center approved concession is. It usually doesn't come up until the end of a transaction, so you wouldn't be entering it in your green sheet anyway. But a market center approved concession is when you're having trouble closing the deal, the two parties just won't agree and everybody's being really stubborn, and in order to make it happen, you've negotiated that the seller's gonna give $2,500 and the buyer's gonna come up $2,500 and the listing agent's gonna give $2,500 and the buyer's agent's gonna give $2,500. Everybody's throwing in $2,500 to make up for this $10,000 difference or kerfuffle, whatever happened here, right? And you come to Keone or myself or your broker and you say, there's no way this deal's gonna happen without this $2,500 concession. This deal is gonna fall apart. We're gonna agree to that concession. And we're gonna take it off of the top and say, yep, we'll take a hit, we'll take it right off of the top of the commission, and then we'll do our splits, so that everybody pays their portion of this $2,500. A below-the-line concession, or a concession that's not approved by the market center, would be a concession like, so you get to the end of the transaction and your buyer is a little miffed that the house isn't sufficiently clean, and the listing agent says, I'm not doing any more, we've had it cleaned, everything's perfect, I don't know what you're talking about, and your buyer says, this isn't clean, it's not clean by my standards, and you decide you need to spend another $250 to have it cleaned once more. And you come to your broker and say, I'd like to make this an above-the-line concession, a market center approved concession. And I'm gonna say, I'm sorry, your client is not leaving, this isn't jeopardizing the transaction. Make your client happy, spend a little money, and go and do the right thing. But that's not gonna kill the deal. So that would be a below-the-line concession. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So we're going to say 0 to the market center approved concession, and then there is a line for a bonus or administrative fee. See that? What is a bonus or administrative fee? What would that be?
Would that be like a transaction coordinator?
No, that would be a charge. That would come later. Good point. It could be. No, this is revenue. So this would be like, sometimes you see a marketing that says $5,000 to the agent who brings, an additional $5,000 to the agent who brings us an offer before the end of the month. Like that kind of promotion, right? Well, that $5,000 gets added to your commission and is income, and you have to put it here as a source of income. So, so we say, no, right now I am not being offered a bonus. And then the next line is your split with the market center, or are you at 100% to you? Well, I wish I were at 100%. I'm not. I am splitting with the market center. So it then says, what is your agent commission split? And it should give your split. It should know what your split is, right? And if you're capped, then you would say, I'm at 100%, right? Great. So now again in gray, it tells you what your commission is at this point. And now we go on and say, the agent royalty, is it at 6%? Well, yes, mine is still at 6%, right? And am I capped on royalty? No, I am not. And so I have a royalty fee that I have to pay. Here's a blank space, and then it says, is there an inside referral? So is somebody in the company getting a referral fee for, whatever, working together or whatever? So that would be another way to pay somebody, is just on a referral fee like this. You could say, and give the, I guess it has to be a dollar amount, because it doesn't allow for, or you can say yes. So,
So, question, is it possible to have, like, you get a referral from some sort of listing source, and then you have an inside referral as well. Has that ever happened on a transaction?
Well, if the referral would mean somebody gave you this transaction, and you have to pay somebody for giving you this transaction. If the person who's giving it to you got the transaction through a referral, and that fee has to be paid,
Right.
that's something you and that agent need to agree to
Okay.
and figure out how to get that paid.
Right, so if they had given they got the referral from some sort of source and then they referred it to you, then there's two referrals.
You and the agent will have to figure out how to get that paid.
Okay.
It seems to me that you would be better off splitting this and making yourself 75% of the transaction and the other one 25% of the transaction, and you both split whatever that referral outside, that's an outside referral fee, right? Whatever that fee is.
Okay, so inside referral is someone.
If the agent, like if you and I, if I gave you a transaction and I wanted 25%, that's an inside referral.
Okay.
And you can't put you can't put a
Yeah, I know, why is that, right? You have to put a dollar amount here, it doesn't let you put a commission,
Yeah.
right? You actually have to calculate it yourself and put the amount here. Does that, right? Are you seeing the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
It has a plus or a minus sign, so I'm gonna say plus, and then I have to put an amount in there. So I'm gonna give $2,500, right? And that, in fact, oops, that's a plus, it's the other way around, it's a minus. Yeah. And that $2,500 then gets deducted. So you have to calculate what the internal commission is, a referral fee. Okay, now, the next portion, notice, is in red. And you'll also notice that the first puka in the red area is filled in. This is KW Cares, and we ask that you leave that $10 there. If everybody in the company gave $10 for every transaction that we do, it would be awesome, right? An awesome income for KW Cares. So please consider leaving that, or even better, add a zero. Ha, there you go, doing my bit with KW. The next one is KW Kids Can, and I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna give them $50. And then the third one is Bold Scholarships, and I'm gonna say, no, I already gave myself a scholarship, I'm not gonna do that. And then the next portion is what I call below the line, right? These are now expenses that you could be expensing through your green sheet, through the escrow process that could go here. This again is a very difficult thing to know upfront. We ask you to fill these green sheets out within 2-3 days of opening escrow. You're not gonna know that you're paying for the cleaning service or the, you know, those things tend to happen later. So most of us don't use these. I've not seen them used a lot here. I'm sure other market centers have other uses for them. The first one right there says a buyer's home warranty. Well, we don't even have a home warranty program we can sell here anymore. It's quite challenging. Not that people were using it a lot, so it's okay. What is a home warranty? A home warranty is an insurance policy on the appliances and, yeah, basically the appliances in the house. Okay, so now these items aren't pink, so I don't have to put a zero in here. So now I can scroll to the bottom, and while it's just vaguely in gray, but that is the check that I'm gonna get. Right here, so I gotta be in agreement with this check right here, with this amount. Okay? That's what you should expect to see. Okay, and if there were an outside referral, now you could fill in the information about that outside referral brokerage. That would be handy. And that lets us go to the next section. Next section is a co-broker. Well, there is no co-broker. Don't confuse this with co-operating broker. What is the difference between a co-operating broker and a co-broker?
Cooperating broker is the broker from the other brokerage in the transaction. I don't know what a co-op broker is.
What is the difference between a co-broker and a cooperating broker? Anybody know?
I'm gonna guess at this, a co-broker would be when you have two brokers, two firms maybe, and then a cooperating broker.
Two firms doing what?
Sharing in the listing, sharing in the.
Excellent. Is it possible to co-list a property with somebody from Coldwell Banker?
Yes.
I highly recommend against it, however, it is possible. Right? It is possible, absolutely. Is it possible for you to co-list with somebody on another island? You could join that board and you can be able to list a property over there because it's your cousin whose house is for sale, but you don't know anything about that island, so you're gonna get another agent to work with you and you're gonna co-list it. Right? And that other agent does the work, you brought the business, you continue to do the client contact, whatever. So co-brokering, yes, means two brokerages. Doesn't happen a lot on buyer sides, right? Happens mostly on listing sides. It can happen on a buyer side, but it's not so common. All right, so that would be a co-broker. And then next would be vendors. And notice that we have a pink one here, a red, and it says escrow company, and I'm gonna say Fidelity. And it asks for all this stuff, and I don't really need all of that, but do I have an escrow number yet? And if I don't have an escrow number yet, you just say, 1, 2, 3, 4 to come. And then we go escrow officer's name, and I'm gonna say Pam Teal. Right, just. Right. And if you've already opened escrow, well then you'll have a number. You should have a number from escrow within 24 hours of sending them a contract. And then the last section is called notes. And here's a question. Should we include the GET to the DA? Yes or no?
Yes.
How do you know? How do you know? How do you know if the GET should be included in the DA?
Check the listing.
Thank you, it's on your listing. Whatever you're being offered as compensation on the listing says my 3% plus GET, or it says 3% GET no. It either says GET yes or GET no. If it says yes, you are getting half of the GET that the seller is paying. You're not understanding. General excise tax is due on commissions. We ask sellers to pay that general excise tax, just like your doctor asks you to pay it or your lawyer asks you to pay it. We ask the seller to pay the general excise tax, many agents do, on the commission that they pay us for having sold the house. That GET that the seller is paying is going to be split with the buyer's agent to the same amount, right? Whatever the buyer's agent portion of the commission is, that's the portion of the GET you're going to get.